To have you. And Mark, of course, has just gone because he's taking his mother out for lunch. And we've been talking a lot today about interesting sort of New Year's resolutions and things that we're going to do differently for 2018. And we had an interview, which you might have missed because you're so busy reading the news, Richard. We had an interview with the lovely Lisa Schroeder from Portland in Oregon. And she said earlier today, I said, what would you like to see go in 2017? And she said donuts, which is hilarious because Portland, Oregon is famous for its donuts. And then I said, well, what would you like to see in 2018? And she had no idea that I was going to be talking to my next guest, but she actually said, I want to have less sugar in my life.
It's a wonderful thing to actually want and do.
Yeah. And we've also had another person, Julie Clark from Wellington, top chef, say the very same thing. So because we're talking about a life with less sugar, it's very appropriate for me now to have on the line Amanda Tiffin, who listened to this, my good friend Richard, listen to this. This is a girl who lost 20 kgs by reducing the amount of sugar. Wow. So I've got her on the line and I want to talk to her a little bit about, hello, Amanda.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. I don't know. You've not been filling up on sugar, have you, over this New Year's?
No, I've been very careful. You've been very careful.
Now, I think I got this right. I hope I've got this right. You just jump in and add to this as we go along, my dear. But I basically said that you do, how much, 6 grams of sugar a day?
6 teaspoons of sugar a day. So that's about 24 grams of sugar.
Okay, so let's just start at the very beginning. How long did it take you to do this process, to lose this weight?
It took me about 9 months. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just teaching myself and learning as I was going. So that's why it took 9 months. But it worked out quite well because the slower you lose it, I think the better it is for your body and it's not such a shock.
Okay, now I've got to ask you the difficult question. Did you really, really have major cravings for sugar? Did you go through withdrawal symptoms?
Well, I didn't because I didn't really know what I was doing. So I was,
Amanda.
So I was just doing a little bit at a time and sort of making little food swaps and different choices.
Yes.
Did it so slowly, I didn't actually get the cravings at all.
Oh, that's good.
Which was good. But I think if you just do it slowly and just change a little bit here and a little bit there, your body doesn't really notice, and it's like it's just sort of coming down a little bit from the sugar.
They say the same thing with salt. If you're interested in reducing your salt intake, if you do it little bit by little bit. Because I would think, and I've got Richard in the studio here, Amanda. It's like speed dating. So Richard, this is Amanda. Amanda, this is Richard. Hello.
Afternoon, Amanda.
Hello. Now, Amanda, if I started out by saying to Richard, I'm looking at him, he doesn't look like the sort of man who needs to maybe reduce any weight, but maybe he just wants a healthier lifestyle and go with less sugar. Mm-hmm. You'd say, obviously, the first question I'd ask him is, do you put sugar in your tea or coffee?
Yeah.
I do.
You do. So that would be the first thing to start with, wouldn't it be, Amanda?
That would if you could reduce the amount. So if you're like a 3 teaspoons of sugar per coffee, maybe try and bring it down to 2, and then try and bring it down to 1.
Yes.
Then try and bring it down to half. Yes. I mean, if you just go straight without, you may have a little bit of a reaction to it. You may not. Everyone's sort of different. But just bit by bit, you don't have to go cold turkey. And often people, if they do go cold turkey, like, I'm going to stop all the sugar now and I'm just not going to have any, within a few days, their body is just going into shutdown mode, going, what are you doing? And then you cave and you start eating again.
Exactly.
So there's no need for it. You don't need to stress your body out that way. You just bit by bit.
But you know, Amanda, the thing that I found so interesting, and I've got you a Life Less Sugar. I've got a copy and I absolutely love it. And the recipes are by Lee Brown, which are fantastic. And I want to talk to you about that in a second. But here's the extraordinary thing. Today, I actually offered this book to Lisa in Portland. She really wants it because it's so comprehensive. You've got the recipes, you've got the information, and I love the way you graphically show the teaspoons of sugar that are in the different dishes to help people so that they can get an idea of, really to a certain extent, maybe by surprise, that these things have actually got a sugar value to them. For example, did I realise that per 100 grams, Vegemite and Marmite have got like 11 grams of sugar?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many surprises.
And milk.
Milk.
Yeah,
yes.
like I used to always have low-fat milk, the green top, because that's the healthiest.
Yes.
Well, actually, that's got just about the most amount of sugar in the milk, and that was quite a surprise. And I found that high-fat blue top had less sugar than green top, and even better was cream. Cream had the lowest amount of sugar out of both of them. So I pretty much have cream now, and I do.
I can't believe this is a girl who's lost 20 kgs and she's talking cream.
I know.
Let's just talk about this.
It took me ages to get my head around that.
I know. So to a certain extent, you are celebrating fat and you're watching your carbs.
Yeah, I am. My carbs and my sugar, because the two are interlinked. I view carbs like your pasta and your bread and the potatoes, that sort of thing. And I view the sugar as in white refined sugar, but also natural sugars as well. You do have to keep an eye on both of those. So that's why I count those. And then the protein and the fat, I have more of that because it's more filling. And it's good for you. And fat doesn't make you fat. The sugar makes you fat.
That's really interesting. And I hope people who've tuned in and listening to this, and there's a lot more information in Amanda's fantastic book, Life Less Sugar, How I Lost 20 kg by Reducing My Sugar Intake. Now, look, I want to share with you one thing. I've lost 10 kgs in the last 12 months by doing just a simple thing.
Yeah.
Two things. One is poached eggs on my Vogel's toast for breakfast. I
think you feel full after that as well.
Honestly and truly, I haven't had any lunch. It's now 1:30, and I could actually go through to dinner, and I wouldn't matter. There is fruitcake there, Richard, by the way. My Christmas
I did
cake.
just try it. And can I just say, poached eggs on toast is my favourite food, and that's exactly what I'll have when I go home.
Yeah, same.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
But you need the low-carb bread. You need, like, Vogel's bread.
Well,
yes.
That's one way to get your carbs back. It's like you've got a certain amount of carbs, and do you really want to waste it on something high-carby when you can have two low-carbies, if that makes sense?
Exactly. Now, the interesting thing about your book, which I also found quite fascinating, and I was going through it last night, is you've just got to be really careful when you eat a lot of fresh fruit. You think, I'm doing something healthy, but you're also getting a huge amount of sugar.
Yeah.
I used to eat bags of grapes because I just loved grapes, and then I'd like have a whole bag thinking, I'm being so good, or a whole bag of cherries, and the next day I would have gained weight, and I'd be like, why?
Yeah.
So I've just come to learn, and I'm not saying that about everybody, and I'm not qualified to say fruit's bad or anything like that, but just be careful. I mean, for me, too much sugar is too much sugar, regardless of the form that it takes. And I know that your body processes it differently, but for me, if I overindulge in fruit, I gain weight, and that's just who I am, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Now, I think it's interesting that you also mentioned at this time of the year, strawberries and blueberries are good options because they're lower in sugar.
And raspberries,
And raspberries, and even keep frozen raspberries on hand. You can have those with your natural yogurt. But it's interesting you're going with the higher fat alternatives. But in actual fact, that I have seen other research, even just to do with weight loss. Forget the sugar for a second. Just in terms of weight loss, higher fat products actually help the metabolic way of processing fat. It's quite interesting.
It fills you up. I mean, I'm not too sure on the how it all kind of works, but I know that it fills me up. And if you're full, then you're not going to keep eating and eating and eating.
The other interesting thing, Amanda, it's got nothing to do with your book, but I remember seeing a documentary on TV about how if you process food with chicken stock in the food processor and make it, like say, for example, you've got a lot of steamed vegetables left over and you process it with chicken stock and make it into a soup. They did this research where they gave the person the same meal as a meal, and they gave the person similar, they had similar energy levels, similar age, weight, etc., 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 and they gave them the variation as a soup. And they told them to go drive off down the road, for a few hours. Who got the most hungry of the two? The one who had it as a meal. The old-fashioned thing, their mother saying that the soup lines your stomach is actually quite true. And research has shown that if you consume something like a broth or a minestrone with beans and vegetables, something not a cream chowder sort of soup, but if you eat a broth, you will consume 40% less calories because you won't have the garlic bread, you may not have the dessert, because you're feeling full.
And you do have to listen to your body as well. When your body says, I'm full, stop eating.
I know, I love that. And the other thing is, there's nothing wrong with eating a banana, but maybe just have half a banana and share it.
Do that, or just, have your banana, but watch what else you're having, because when you're having sugar on top of sugar on top of sugar on top of sugar, it all adds up.
I know, exactly. And you can remember the handfuls are really important. Like, for example, you're supposed to have 5 servings of fruit and veg a day, but it's in your hand. I love the emphasis you put on portion size. I mean, that's really important. I think that's the biggest thing. But I have to give a shout out to one thing. I know it's New Year's Eve, and there's a lot of people who are not drinking tonight. But seriously, the thing I've noticed that really makes a difference in terms of weight loss or gaining is orange juice.
Oh, yeah, that was a big shock to me as well, because I just bought a juicer just before I started doing this, thinking I'm going to get into my juicing, and I bought all these oranges and fruit and what have you, and I started actually doing it, and I was getting more bloated and so forth, and then I saw the program shortly after that, and I went, oh, well, now that makes sense.
So just for people who've tuned in, Amanda, who may not know your story, you would literally watched a documentary on TV and decided to do this for yourself.
Yep, it's Sugar the New Fat. It was researched by Julianne Taylor, a Auckland nutritionist, and it was hosted by Nigel Latta, and you can find it online, on demand, I think it is.
Fantastic.
And it just opened my eyes, and I was just like, oh my Lord. And it actually took me a day or two to process what I'd actually seen, and then I was like going through my cupboards, and it was just a real eye-opener, and I would recommend people watch that, absolutely.
And I think the important message is, I mean, you've had an outstanding success with that. I mean, 20 kgs is really, really impressive, and well done, Amanda. And what I love is your go-to attitude. I love the fact that you and Lev got sorted out all these recipes to help people.
They're amazing recipes, and they're everyday recipes, and they're recipes that you can go to the supermarket and buy all the ingredients, not health food shops, because I was getting really annoyed with having to go to health food shops, spending lots of money just to find that what I was actually still buying was just another form of sugar.
And I love the fact that you salute the Velcom curry paste, because I'm a huge fan of those curry pastes, and they're really low in sugar. So if you want to make yourself a delicious curry, you've got the Velcom. You've actually mentioned specific brands here and here, which is really, really helpful to people.
It is.
And it's good.
You can find, all of our products we've used are low in sugar, but there'll be better ones out there that we haven't found. So you can alter any of the recipes, with better products that you can find. Go for it. The less sugar you consume, the better.
Exactly.
I mean, it's still good to have some,
yes,
but less the better.
And there's sugar and alcohol, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there is. There's a whole fermenting process.
I know.
Yeah,
but
I don't think it's that good.
We don't want to dampen people's spirits on New Year's Eve, but I think the important thing, the message that we can say to people is even a little bit will make a huge difference. So even gradually. Amanda, I wish I had more time with you today, but it's a crazy, crazy New Year's Eve. I want to thank you so much for what you've done here, and I want to salute you. I think that you are a very impressive person from 2017, and grab the book and read it, and thanks to Lee for all those wonderful recipes, and wish you all the best for the new year.
And you, thank you so much for talking to me.
That's okay, Amanda. It's been a total pleasure.